Okay, welcome back to another video of industry this time. And this time I want to talk to you about making things in Eve. And I've tried to help some people. I figure sometimes it's better to just go with a example. Now, first thing I want to talk to you about is the concept of what the blueprints look like. If you want to make something, you need to have the skills, you need to have the blueprints, and you need to have the materials, and you need to have a place to do it. If you are lacking any of these, you get error messages. So we'll start with taking a look at what the blueprints themselves look like. And if you if you go out shopping, you can find there are different types. The key thing is there are two main types of blueprints that I want to talk about. First type is called blueprint copies, and the second type is blueprint originals. Now, originals, if you take a look at something like, let's say, this Gallente Shuttle one, which I just bought, you see the biggest important thing there is on the second line. It says original, infinite runs. Once you have this, you can use it forever. It doesn't run out. On the other hand, if I take a look at a copy, which I also have handy here, and show info on this, you can see this is a copy. It says one run remaining, which means I can build one incursus with this, and then the blueprint is gone. It is a one-use thing. So when you're dealing with this, you have to be aware of whether you are buying a copy or an original. If you're buying it on the Alt-R market, it is an original. Copies are not for sale there. If you wish to buy a copy, then you have to go to the market. So, or make them yourself. You can make copies from originals, and we'll get to that in a wee bit, although that's not the key focus I want to deal with today. So the two kinds are, it'll either say on the second line copy, and notice it's kind of a light faded blue, or original, and it is a darker blue. If you look at them side by side, you can identify them fairly easily. And yes, scammers will sometimes try to sell you one claiming it is the other. Pay attention. The other interesting thing I want to show on the info is these two boxes down below. One says material efficiency, and the one that looks like an hourglass is time efficiency. These affect how efficient your blueprint is when making things. Material means less wastage. Less material has to go in to make the thing. Time means it's faster. So if you're somebody who's actually building things to make a living, you want to churn out as much as possible, as fast as possible, so you can get on to making the next thing. When you buy a blueprint original, they are plain and straight. If you want to make them better, then you have to do research. And that brings us to the first thing. Now, there's a couple different ways to open the industry panel, which is where we're going to be playing a lot. You can hit Alt-S, and that brings up the panel. And if you're on the blueprints drop-down, you have a choice of 3 different drop-downs. One says jobs, one says facilities, one says blueprints. Facilities tells you where you are and what can be done. And please notice that I'm in Couster right now, and I can do manufacturing. What I cannot do is material research, or time research, or make copies, or invention, or reactions. The only thing I bloody well can do here is manufacturing. If I want to see all facilities or public facilities, and I want to go, say, within 5 jumps, you can see if I go over to Elgagill, wow, I said it right, I can do most of the things there. Or Luminaire, again, I can do most of the things there. But where I am right now is a rookie system, and rookie systems, for the most part, just do manufacturing. So I can go to my blueprints, and it shows blueprints in the current station. This is kind of a key thing, because there's a really common error where people buy a blueprint from another station and then somehow think it gets FedExed over. There is no Amazon Prime delivery. There is no FedEx. If you buy something from another station, you go get it. Simple. But assuming that you can actually see blueprints owned by me and you want to use one, let's say I wanted to make a Gallente Shuttle. Then I can right-click that, and you see one of the choices there is Use Blueprint. Now it fills it into the middle. If I didn't want to do that, and I just right-click Remove Blueprint, I could also just drag it up and drop it. Same thing happens. It shows what I will make it. It shows where it will go. Input where it will be delivered is right there. Output, it'll be in the item hanger. Input, item hanger. So it's looking for the materials needed to make this in the item hanger. You can see right here that what I need is titanium. Unfortunately, I don't have enough. I have 840 out of 2,778 needed to make this. So I could say, boop, and say I want to buy it, and just view market material, view market locally. And again, if I was wanting to get it for the cheapest price, I could say, oh look, I can go get one 6 jumps away. It's cheap, but it's also 6 jumps away. 4.58, 4.6, 5, 5, 5, 5, and all of a sudden it jumps up to 616, but there's 2 million of it locally. Since I'm being bloody lazy and not talking about shipping right now, I'm going to buy it from there. So I can just say, buy this type, I need this, and it actually fills in, does the math for me, and says, you need 1,938 of these to make one of those things. It will cost me 11,000 ISK. So I say buy. Notice that the red just went to blue. Also, this button was red before, and if I hovered over it, it said you can't do that. Now it's gone to gold, orange, off yellow, whatever. Trump. And it is now ready to go. And it says the job will take 1 hour and 20 minutes, and it will cost me 586 ISK to make. So this has cost me 11,500, about 12,000 to make. And if you take a look at it, is going to make a shuttle that is worth, well, locally there's people trying to sell them for 18,000. There's somebody just a few jumps away who's willing to pay 20,000 for it. But right locally, 25,000. Somebody's trying to sell it in this station. I wouldn't buy it because I can make it for less than that. Hell, even the blueprint wasn't that expensive overall. We'll get back to that in a second. So all I have to do is say start, and notice the blueprint has disappeared from the list. I've lost 586 ISK, and the job is running. If I click on the jobs tab down there, we'll see that I have 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 47 seconds left. The video is not going to be this long, but I am now happily making a Gallente shuttle. Okay. Now, there's a few skills that were also necessary, and if we do the info on what we needed here, you can see outcome, 1 shuttle. Required skills, I had to have a minimum of Industry 1 to do this, which I think you start with that. And input materials, I needed the titanium. So, and to do it, I needed the blueprint. Now the blueprint itself I bought locally, and it cost 50,000. So it's costs more than the shuttle is worth. But the thing is, since this is infinite, this means I can make as many shuttles as I want. And I don't want you all to rush out and start making shuttles. There's not a huge profit margin, and there's other people who can undercut you. I'm amazed that you actually can turn a slight profit with this. But how many shuttles would I have to bloody sell to make back the 50,000? Yeah, you do the math. Although at one point I did make a lot of this because I shipped shuttles to some place I knew they were going to be in heavy demand, and I was selling them at $1 million a pop. So after I sold one, it was all profit. But that was more knowing the lay of the land and how the game went and why people would want shuttles. And then I just took the shuttles to that point. If you're smart, if you can use your head, and I assume a lot of you are a lot smarter than I am. I'm just more experienced. But if you're smart, you can see opportunities like that, jump on them, and make a ton of ISK. I've said it before, the richest people in EVE that I know didn't get there by shooting things, they got there by selling things. 1 or 2 got there by stealing things. So that's how you get something happening. You have to make sure that A, you're docked, B, there's a facility for you to do it, C, you've got all the materials and the blueprint in the item hanger where you're doing the building, and then you just get it and you get everything going and start it up. I can close that. So the nice thing is I could log off right now and that build would continue, and in 1 hour and 20 minutes or whatever time there is left, 1 hour 17 minutes and 18 seconds, it will be done, and it will give me the option when I look at jobs that are active where the timer set right there, it will say deliver. I click that, that completes that industry run, leaving the slot open for another. Now there are only so many things you can build depending on your skills. So if I bring up skills for a second, boop, and production, industry allows you to operate the, allows you to run the skill, but it does, you still only can run one job. On the other hand, mass production allows you to run one additional manufacturing job per level. So you can have up to 6 running. If people want to run huge operations, then they wind up running alts or running a bunch through other methods. But mass production, you do have some limits at the beginning. That skill cost 150,000. So if you're going to get serious into making things, but I cannot emphasize this enough. Check your margins, make sure that you're not doing something silly like building ammunition. I want to get to that. So let's go back to our thing here. And you notice, where were we? Ammunition, I bought one. So if I say use blueprint, I can do it straight from there. And to make antimatter charge S, I would have to get one of Noxium, which costs 290x, buy this. So I just spent 329 for that. And this is Tritanium. And 1,000 for that, so I'm at about 1,500. And the job cost is 61. And they've got a breakdown of how they did the math. And part of it is tax, part of it is facilities tax. If you're well loved in the area, then you might get out. But outcome, I get 100 rounds of ammunition, antimatter charge S. And it is worth about 15, give or take. So 15 times 100, 1,500. Didn't I just spend that? Estimated value 900 for that, 60, 290, and the facilities cost in this. It would be dumb of me to make ammo unless I was in an area where it wasn't for sale or was way overpriced. Buyers, the lowest buyer is at 1,000 per, or 10 per round, which means 100 rounds would be 1,000. I can't make it for that price. The best price we got for somebody to buy that is less than it cost me to make it. So do not figure you're going to become rich, rich, rich and Eve by running out, buying yourself a blueprint, and making things by buying it all locally. And do not give me that stuff about, I will just mine it myself and that way it'll be free. Your time isn't free. But if you think it is and you're going to watch Netflix and do a bit of mining, then yeah, you can maybe make 1,000 ISK. You could probably make that much in half the time doing a distribution run, or shooting something, or just looting a field. But if that's what you want to do, the people who make money on antimatter charges have researched it to cut the loss and are working out of their own operating bases where they're not paying huge taxes and fees. They're not doing it in public facilities with no skills and no standing. They can undercut you, and they will. So we have talked about types of blueprints. We've talked about what you need to build things. The last thing is talking about research, which means we have to go someplace. So I'm going to pop the antimatter charge into my hold. And facilities, all activities within 5 jumps. Algaville is one jump away. So we're just going to do a real fast flip over there. If I knew how to edit these things, I'd take this part out of it, but I'm lousy at editing. I just make these things raw and hope for the best. If I've already answered your questions, feel free to quit. Leave a comment down below, though. If you want to see research on something, then hang on about 2 minutes. If you're wondering how I got where I'm going to sort that way, I recommend another video that I've got somewhere in the my channel that is moving an Eve. But basically, you can sort these columns. Personally, I usually do sort for travel, so I sort by the icons, and it always puts the gate or station that I'm going to right up at the top. Come on, baby, I'm not that patient. Notice it also immediately pops the station I want to go to right up to the top.
Warp drive active.
In case you haven't noticed, the space is colored various places, telling you what race you're
Docking
in. If you see a
permission
lot
requested.
of green, you're in Gallente space.
Docking request accepted.
That's nice. Nice of you to accept me. It's nice to be acceptable. Okay. Please don't do the most common thing that I do, which is try to do things out of the hull hold of your ship. Move it into the item hanger. Go to the item hanger. Go use blueprint. And notice here, these ones have lit up now. I can do copying, time efficiency, or material efficiency. I'm going to do material efficiency to try to cut that cost a little. So if I click on that, I can say how many passes I want to make, and each one will change the percentage all the way up to a maximum of 10 runs will get me full percentage. This is going to take almost 3 days, 2 days, 23 hours, 6 minutes, and 40 seconds. Going to cost me 3,000, but it's going to cut the materials that needs to make this ammunition. If I wanted to, I also could cut the time it takes to make the ammunition by doing this all the way up to 10, but that'll go up to 20% if I remember right. And once I've got fully researched, I can actually make copies of this blueprint, and the copies will have the same efficiencies. So once you've managed to jack the efficiency up, you can leave your original someplace safe and take copies with you if you want to go on the road and take copies for your ammo. Or there are people who will buy copies. Not as much as you'd hope. There's not a huge market in it, but you do see it in contracts. I'll show you. So see contracts, you go triple line top left, also known as Neocom, business, and then contracts. And you can say available. This guy's selling a ship that's got the ammo on it. Same thing, they're selling ammo. Nobody's selling a copy of that blueprint, probably for a good reason. But I'm going to set this to jack up and run. And we may check back with that another time to see how much it costs to make after. The last thing I want to remind you is the market is dynamic. What is cheap in one place may be expensive in another. There is no NPCs buying stuff and locking the market into a price. So it's what the market will bear. You want to sell something for $1 million and it's worth $1,000. If you find a sucker willing to pay it, you just made a really good profit. If you want to sell something desperately now and you don't care what you get, there'll be somebody who'll give you 2 ISK for it, maybe 1.5, and then they'll happily carry it 15 jumps and sell it for the million. So it cuts both ways. If you're lazy, you're going to pay for it. If somebody else is lazy, you can make them pay for it. That's about all I had to say. I got the
Skill training
blueprints.
completed.
Great, mass production level 1, so I could do another one right now. I got the blueprints, types, usage, remembering to deliver things at the end of it, how to research. That's the basics of industry as of Eve in November of 2018. If they change it majorly, I'll have to delete this video. But other than that, you fly safe. I'm, well, sometimes Mike Azariah, but this pilot is you know, because the more you know, the better off you are. You guys have a nice afternoon, evening, morning, whatever. It's space. Who knows what time it is. Bye.